So welcome to another video on object-oriented programming with C++. In the last video, we talked a little bit about what is ADT, abstract data type, and we saw two examples of ADT. One was this complex number ADT, and the other was list ADT. So in this video, we are going to go ahead and implement the complex number ADT. So like any other program, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to include IO stream. Okay, now as you already know, in complex number we need a few mathematical function. For example, we need square root and we need tan inverse. So in order to get this mathematical function, we are going to import include CMath. Alright, this is a library that is given to us by C++. In this library, there are lots of mathematical functions. For example, all this thing that we need, square root, tan inverse. Apart from that, we have all this trigonometric function like sine inverse, cos, etc. And then logarithmic function to find power, absolute value function. Okay. So lots of different functions are made available to us, mathematical function, through this CMath library. Alright. Now the other thing that I want to point out about CMath is that all of this function, and there are a few constant global variable constants as well. For example, the value of pi. Okay, they are made available to us inside this namespace std. Okay, so like C out and C in is given to us inside this namespace std. Okay, in the same way, all these things that are there in CMath is made available through std namespace. So we are going to go ahead and bring that namespace into our local scope, right? So I am going to write using namespace std. Alright, so this is what I have. Okay, now let me go ahead and create the abstract type that will work as the skeleton behind the two implementations of complex number that we are going to have. Alright, so we already talked about this. There are going to be two different implementation, two ways in which we can implement complex number, right? We can have one in rectangular form and the other can be in polar form. So there are two ways in which we can implement. We can represent a complex number. Okay, but then whatever be the representation, there are a few operations that are going to be common throughout, right? There is going to be this operation, get real, get imaginary, get magnitude, get phase, angle, then add two complex number, subtract a complex number from another complex number, multiply to complex number. Alright, and then print the complex number in rectangular notation and print the complex number in polar notation. So these are 9 things that we are going to do, right? Whatever be the representation, these are 9 methods that are going to be common. So let us create the specification of the method inside this abstract class. So I am going to have this class and I am going to call this complex base. Okay, and this is going to be abstract, so it's going to have a few public methods. All of them are going to be pure virtual. Okay, so virtual double, get real equal to 0. Sorry. Virtual double, get magnitude virtual double. Okay, magnitude will come later. Get imaginary should come before virtual magnitude. Okay. Before I go ahead and write the prototype of this add function, let's talk a little bit about this for function. All of these are pure virtual. How do I know these are pure virtual? I know these are pure virtual because there is no implementation. Okay, inside this class or outside this class, there is no implementation. And then I write equal to 0. When I write equal to 0 without an implementation of the function, it means that the function, this method, is pure virtual method. Okay. If a class has at least one pure virtual function, then that class is called an abstract class. In this case, we have more than one pure virtual function, so it is going to be abstract class, right? I need at least one. Okay. Next, these are 4 functions that I have defined. 4 pure virtual functions. The prototype are defined over here. One is get real, the other is get imaginary, get magnitude, and get phase. Now I need one more function to add 2 complex number. Okay, so I'm going to add 2 complex number. Say I have one complex number object A, another complex number object B. Okay, now I want to add 2 of them, so I am going to have a method add, so that if I want to add something to A, I will call A arrow add. So A is going to be a pointer to some complex number, right? Now here is the thing. Say A is a complex number of this form, complex rectangular, and B is a complex number of any form, be it rectangular or be it complex polar. Okay, so these are 2 different classes that are ultimately going to inherit from this abstract class complex base. So complex base is going to be the parent, and we cannot create an object of complex base, right? Because complex base is abstract, we cannot create an object out of an abstract class. But this complex rectangular and complex polar are going to be 2 classes whose object we will be able to create. Okay, because those are going to be concrete, those are not going to have any pure virtual classes unimplemented. We are going to implement all these unimplemented function in those classes. Alright, those are going to be concrete and we can create objects out of them. So we will be able to create objects of type complex rectangular, and we will be able to create objects of type complex polar. Okay, so we will be able to do that. But then here is the thing, I want to add 2 complex number. One might be, both of them might be in any any representation, any class. Okay, both this complex number object can be an object of any type, whether complex rectangular or complex polar. Okay, so when I want to add to my first complex number object, say A, and there is this other complex number object B, when I want to add A and B, okay, I will be calling A this A objects add method. Okay, so A arrow add, that is what I am going to be calling. But here is the problem. What is the parameter that I am going to pass to this add method? Right, this is a method, and this is going to take a parameter. Okay, so what is the parameter that it is going to take? What is the type of the parameter? So I have an object. Okay, and let me try to explain this to you. Alright, okay, so I am ultimately going to have some main. Okay, So what is going to happen is this. Let me keep everything under comment, so I won't be getting errors. Okay. So there is going to be a complex rectangular class, and say I have created an object of complex rectangular in the heap. So this is how I would have created an object of complex rectangular in the heap. Okay. Now say I have another complex rectangular B. Okay. And I want to add this B to A. So what I am going to call, I am going to use this A, and I am going to call this add method. Okay. And I am going to pass B. Okay. So this I can see I am passing an object of type complex rectangular. But on the other hand, if I had a complex polar, okay, so if I had a complex polar, then I would be passing an object of type complex polar. So whether I pass an object of type complex rectangular or I pass an object of type complex polar, there is going to be this confusion that will be done by the developer, right? So I cannot know this beforehand what is the object that is going to be passed. All right. So I do not want to place a restriction. I want to be able to add two complex number. Okay. To my A, I want to add B. Okay. And store the result in A itself. But then what do I do? What is the type of parameter that I take? That is the question. So here is the solution. Complex base is a abstract class, right? We cannot create an object out of abstract class, but we can create a pointer of abstract class that can point to an object that is inherited from this abstract class, that inherits from this abstract class. Right? So our complex rectangular and complex polar, both of them are going to inherit from this complex base class. So this complex base class pointer can point to objects of both complex rectangular and complex polar, right? So instead of worrying about whether I am going to take a complex rectangular or complex polar object, I am simply going to take as parameter a complex base pointer. Okay. So this pointer can point to both complex rectangular and complex polar. So at a later point of time, I may be passed anything. Okay. So that is what I have. Now I am going to have two more function. Virtual void print rectangular. This will print the this complex number in rectangular representation, and I have print polar. This will print the complex number in polar representation. Alright, so this is my complex base. Okay, the base of my class, and then I am going to have the real concrete class. Okay, this is my abstract class. Let me create a concrete class where I am going to implement this function. There are more functions that I have to implement. I have to implement this two. One is times and another is multiply. Okay, so I am going to do that later. Right now I just want to show you all this different, how to go ahead and create object, how to create a concrete class. So let me go ahead and create this concrete class complex rectangular, and I am going to inherit from complex base. Alright. So first thing that I need is in rectangular representation of complex number, we represent the complex number as a plus ib, where a is the real part and b is the imaginary part. Okay, so I need two variables to store these two numbers, right? One is the real part of the complex number, other is the imaginary part. So let me create two double. Okay, so I'm going to have real and imaginary. So these are two doubles that I have, and I am keeping them private because I do not want any other code outside my class to have access to these variables, right? And apart from that, one more thing that I want to point out, I am explicitly writing this private over here. I do not need to do that. Okay, by default everything is private. So if I am having methods or attributes which are private, okay, then I need not specify them as private if they appear at the beginning of my class. In the beginning everything is private, right? So this will be private even if I don't write this line of code. So let me remove this line of code, and this is what I have, equivalent code. Next I am going to have some public methods. So all these methods that I have in my abstract class, I am going to go ahead and implement them. Okay, so I have virtual double get real, and this will do what? This will return the real part of complex number. Then I have virtual double get imaginary. This will return the imaginary part of the complex number. Okay, then I have virtual double get magnitude. Okay, so magnitude, we have seen the formula in the last class, is essentially just the, I take the square of the real part, I take the square of the imaginary part, I add them together and I take the square root. Okay, so let me do one thing, let me create the square of the real part. So it's real into real. Okay, then I take the square of the imaginary part, image into image. I add these two things together. Okay, this is square of imaginary, this is square of real. I have added these two terms. Now I am going to take square root. So this square root function is given to me by this CMath library that I have included in my source file, right? So it is sqrt. This is a function that is available in the CMath library, and I am going to return this. So what am I returning from this get magnitude? I am returning square root of real square plus imaginary square. So this is the formula to get this magnitude, and that is what I am doing. Okay, next I have going to return this phase angle, get phase, and this is a bit complicated, but we still know what is the formula. So it's I have something called radian. If real part is not equal to 0, okay, then radian will be equal to tan inverse imaginary by real. Okay, else if real is equal to 0, then I am going to see two things. First, whether this imaginary part is greater than 0 or imaginary part is less than 0. Okay, if imaginary part is greater than 0, then radian is equal to pi by 2. Now pi, I am going to use the variable that is declared inside this CMath function. Why? Because it is going to give me the highest precision that my computer can handle. Okay, say I write 3.14 instead of this pi that is there in CMath. If I write 3.14, that is an approximation of pi, but it is not as precise as say writing 3.1415. So 3.1415 is going to be more precise than 3.14. Okay, so how much precision can my computer handle? Of course, pi, I cannot, under no circumstance can I write it as with 100% precision, right? It has an infinite number of digits after this dot. It is a irrational number, and there is no way my computer can can hold a infinitely long number. Okay, so there is only a limit up to which my computer can handle the precision of pi. Okay, so up to the limit this CMath is going to give me. So I don't know what is the limit, and maybe I can take a pen and paper and I can calculate that what is the size of my resistor. Okay, what is the representation? This I am using double, so it is going to be double precision floating point representation IEEE 754, I believe. Okay, so if I look at that specification, I will see what is the accuracy that my resistor can handle, that my computer can handle, and then I can figure out what is the number of decimal points after this dot. Okay, that my computer can handle accurately, and I can write the value of pi with that many decimal points. So these are lots of things that I could have done, but I am not going to do that. I am simply going to use this m underscore pi global variable that is declared inside this CMath function. Okay, so this gives me the most precise value of pi that my computer can handle, and this is what I am going to use. Okay, so what have I done till now? I am trying to get this angle. If real part of my complex number is not equal to 0, then the angle is equal to tan inverse of imaginary by real. Okay, if real part is 0, then I am going to look at whether imaginary part is greater than 0. If imaginary part is greater than 0, then my angle is pi by 2, or else if it is equal to 0 or less than 0, then my angle is m underscore pi, okay, is minus m underscore pi by 2. Okay, so this is how I get the angle in radian, and I return the angle. Alright. Okay. Next, I am going to implement this print function. Add function. Okay, and this is going to take a complex base pointer as parameter. Okay, so what is going to happen? I have this real part of this current object, and this is going to be updated to the real part plus whatever is in the real part of the pointer. Okay, but here is something, I cannot do this. Okay, this is going to give me an error. This pointer that I have, okay, number one, real, this is some other object, right? The code that you see, this real is for the A that I saw in the example, but the parameter that is going to be passed is the B objects. So I have two objects, A and B. This real is for A. Okay, I am going to take a class soon on something called this pointer, and once you learn this pointer, you are going to understand this how these variables inside classes are actually called more properly. Okay, so but then when I have this real underscore real, okay, it means when I call the add function of A, this real deals with the real of A, okay, but I am going to pass some pointer to some other object, say B. The real of B is going to be private, okay, to B. So inside this code of A, I cannot access that real part of B, real attribute of B. So that is point 1. Point 2 is I do not even know whether I am going to be passed a complex rectangular that has a real or complex polar. In complex polar, there is no real and imaginary, okay. There is going to be phase and magnitude. So anyway, if I am past a complex polar, this real is not going to make sense. Point number 2. But the main error why I cannot use this real is this. I use a complex base pointer, okay, that is the class of my pointer. Now this real and imaginary are not there in my complex base pointer, okay. My complex base pointer has only these things, only these methods, okay. So when I have a parent pointer pointing to a child class object, okay, I can use only those attributes and methods which are already known to the parent class, right. So real is not known to the parent class. This is something new that we have defined inside the child class, okay. So I can hover over here and I can look at this error. Class complex base has no member real. So complex base, this parent class that I had, okay, there is nothing called real in this parent class. Therefore I cannot get this attribute directly. So how do I get this attribute? This getReal function is there in my parent class, right? So this is something that I can access using this parent class pointer. And then here, if I have a complex rectangular, here I have implemented this function. So getReal is available. So let me use that. And I can use this. This is known to the parent class, right? So ultimately, this is going to be this complex base pointer. This is complex base is an abstract class. I cannot have an object of abstract class. So this pointer is going to point to either a complex rectangular object or a complex polar object, right? So anyway, whatever I have, these two classes, complex rectangular or complex polar, is going to have an implementation of this getReal function, okay. And because of how runtime polymorphism works, this pointer, when I call this getReal, okay, using this vptr and then this vtable, this implemented function that I have in my either complex rectangular or complex polar, okay, the appropriate function is going to be called, okay. And I am going to get the real value, means the value of the real part, okay, of the complex number. So this is what I have. This is how I can access the real part. So if a complex rectangular object is passed, then this getReal is simply going to return the real, okay. So this is what I have. And in the same way, I am going to have imaginary equal. Let me do one thing. Instead of writing this, I am going to write plus equal. This is just a synthetic thing. This is not going to affect my code in any way, okay. So previously this would have meant faster object code, okay, but right now my compilers are so good, so much better at optimizing this object code, that whether I write equal to real plus pointer getReal, or I write real plus equal to pointer getReal, it does not matter, because anyway the code that is going to be generated is going to be very optimized, okay, by the compiler. So now it really does not matter, but in previous generation computer, writing plus equal instead of writing real equal to real plus something, okay, writing plus equal would have resulted in generating faster object code, but right now we don't need to worry about all those things, right? Our computer is compiler is very efficient. Compiler will handle all of those things. Right now, this is a synthetic advantage. All right. Now I have implemented 5 functions. This get real, get imaginary, get magnitude, get phase, add. Now there are 2 functions that I need to implement. So let me go ahead and do that. So one is virtual void print rectangular. Alright, and this is going to print real plus I imaginary, a plus ib. Okay, and then virtual void print polar. This is going to print let me do one thing. Let me, instead of directly accessing this attribute real, let me use this function get real. Okay, and I'm going to use this function get imaginary. So there is no reason why I should write get real and get imaginary instead of accessing this values directly, these attributes directly, like I was doing just before. But think about it, these functions are going to be available in complex rectangular, complex polar as well. So if I write in this way, get magnitude, okay, so this I'm going to have inside a bracket, okay, magnitude, then I'm going to have a comma, and then I'm going to have this angle get phase. I have to close the bracket and then this end line. Okay, so think about this thing that I was talking about. Instead of accessing this attribute get real and this real and imaginary directly, I am accessing this through this methods get real and get imaginary, and here I have to put brackets. This is a method. Okay, so the reason I am doing this is because these methods are going to be available in get in complex polar as well. Okay, so in complex polar, if I simply copy these 2 functions, nothing is going to change. Okay, but if I had underscore real in here instead of get real and underscore imaginary in here instead of get imaginary, then in writing this complex polar class, my function would have been different. Okay, some implementation would have been different. Pause this video and think about why that would have been different, or you wait for some time. Let us write the complex polar class soon. After that you will realize why these are going to be different on your own. So this is what I have. This is my complex base is the abstract class, and complex rectangular is the concrete class that I have created till now. So let me do one thing. Let me of course there is one thing that is left to be done. I have all these different function, but I don't have a very important function. How do I set this complex number? How do I create this complex number? Okay, so I am going to need a function that is going to set the value of real and that is going to set the value of imaginary. So I am going to create a constructor that is going to set these 2 values. So it is going to take 2 double, one is r and double I, and it is going to set real equal to r and imaginary equal to I. Okay, so I'm going to use this constructor to set the value of real and imaginary. This is how I am going to create this complex number. So let me go ahead and create a complex number. Okay, so complex rectangular star A. Let me create in the stack itself. A, I'm sending 10, 15. Okay, so it will create a complex number 10 plus 15i. Let me create another complex rectangular B. It is 20 and 20. So 20 plus 20i. This is my B. Now let me do one thing. A dot print rectangular. So I'm going to print the complex number A. Then I'm going to add I have to pass the address of B, right? Then I'm going to print A again, and this is what my function is. Okay, program is. So let me go ahead and compile this program. Okay, I before adding I printed this number 10 plus 15i or I15. I have written I15. Let me go ahead and change it to 15i. Okay, let me run this again. Yeah. So I had this complex number 10 plus 15i. Okay, and I had another complex number that I did not print, 20 plus 20i. So when I add 10 plus 15i and 20 plus 20i, I end up with 30 plus 35i, right? So yeah, this makes sense, and this is what I have. Now instead of having this complex rectangular created on stack, okay, I have time created on heap. So this is going to be new complex rectangular, and this is also going to be new complex rectangular. And since B is now a pointer, okay, I don't have to write ampersand in front of B. It is going to be B anyway, and since these are all pointer, instead of dot I am going to write arrow. Okay, so nothing new. Okay, this is what I have. So let me go ahead and compile. Let me go ahead and compile and run. Okay, so 10 plus 15i, I have created another complex number 20 plus 20i. So in this line number 56, I am adding A and B, 10 plus 20, 15i plus 20 plus 20i. So I after adding, I am printing them again. So I get 30 plus 35i. So far so good. Alright, so this is what I have. Complex base and complex rectangular. Now let me go ahead and do one thing. Let me go ahead and create one more complex class, right? So there is this class complex polar. Okay, and this is going to inherit from complex base. Alright, so like before, I need two things. So before in complex rectangular, I needed real part and imaginary part. Now in polar representation, I need magnitude and I need phase. Okay, these two are the values that I am going to need in order to represent this complex number in polar form. All right. So public. Okay. I need a constructor that is going to set the values, right? So it is going to take double m double p. So m is going to be set to magnitude and p is going to be set to phase. Okay, so this constructor is going to initialize this complex number, and this have different meaning than what was there in complex rectangular, right? So in complex rectangular I specified the real part and the imaginary part. Here I am specifying the magnitude and the angle. Okay, now I need this thing double. Okay, one thing I want to tell you once again, this virtual keyword that I have been writing in this child class, I do not need to write virtual in my child class. Okay, it is important that I write virtual in my parent class in complex base, but in complex rectangular and in complex polar I need not write virtual. Okay, so I am not going to write virtual, or I can write virtual, it does not really matter. Okay, so let me go ahead and write virtual. I will remove this later. So double get real. So get real is going to be hold on. So get real is going to return magnitude into cos of angle. Okay, this is just the formula. Don't worry too much about why this formula is true. I hope you studied this back in school, okay, in trigonometry, but then in this class it is not necessary to know why this is true. So imaginary, get imaginary is equal to magnitude into sine of angle. So phase is the angle. Okay, I hope that you should have guessed by now. And if you remember this Cartesian coordinate system, polar coordinate system, converting from Cartesian to polar, you studied this back in school itself, I believe, when you studied trigonometry for the first time. Okay, so yeah, this is what I have. Don't worry too much about this. If you remember that, fine. If you don't remember, then just reference the formula sheet that we had in the last class. Okay, understanding all these things are not necessary from object oriented perspective. Another function that we have is double get magnitude. So this is going to be easy. I just return magnitude. This is also easy. I just return the phase. Okay, add is going to be a bit complicated. This is going to take complex base pointer. Alright, then we have double real imaginary. So what we are going to do is we are going to convert this number into rectangular form, do the addition in rectangular form, and then convert it back into this polar form. Okay, because addition is easier in rectangular form. So this is what we have two real and imaginary, two local variables. Then real is equal to the get real, the real of this current object, plus from the pointer I'm going to get the real part of the pointer. Alright, imaginary is equal to the imaginary part of this current number plus, using this pointer, the imaginary part of the pointer, object pointed to by the pointer. So this is how I get the real and imaginary part of the sum. Okay, sum the thing whatever we have. Now from this real and imaginary I need to convert it back into this polar form, right? This is my polar complex number representation, and I need this magnitude and phase. So right now I have this sum in rectangular form with real and imaginary. I need to convert it into polar form with magnitude and phase. So the magnitude is very easy. I just do the square root. So we already talked about this, of the real part, real square, plus imaginary square, and I take their square root. This gives me the magnitude. The phase is a bit complicated, okay, but we know that also. We implemented that if real is not equal to 0, then phase is simply tan inverse imaginary by real. Okay, else if means this is now real is equal to 0. If real is not equal to 0, then this line would be executed. If real is equal to 0, then we will come to the next line and check whether imaginary is greater than 0. If imaginary is greater than 0, then phase is equal to pi by 2, and imaginary, if it is less than 0 or equal to 0, then phase is equal to minus pi by 2. Alright, so this is how I get the angle. And what is the error over here? Okay, error is add is not going to return anything. Okay, so we just update the value. We are not returning anything. Now I have two more functions that I have to implement. One is print rectangular and print polar. So here is the thing. I will simply copy these two from rectangular and I am going to paste here. Okay, and why does this copying work? Because I do not use any attribute. Okay, previously if I would have used real attribute directly here and real imaginary attribute directly over here, then I would need to rewrite this function in this class. But because I am using this get magnitude, get phase, this kind of function, so I need not worry about changing this function, right? This function will work nevertheless. Okay, so nothing to change with these two functions. So this is what I have right now. I have implemented complex rectangular and complex polar. Okay, so let me do one thing. Okay, let me create two complex polar object. And let me print both of them in both complex rectangular and complex polar before addition. Okay, and complex rectangular and complex polar after addition. Okay, so this is what I have: complex rectangular, two complex polar object, and I really don't know what is the angle that I have to, what is this magnitude. Let me copy from the example that is given: 31.62 and 0.322. Okay, and here I am going to put 28.28 and 0.785. Alright, so this is what I have. Let me save this, let me compile and run it. Okay, so A is equal to this number that I initialized to. Okay, so this is 31.62 and 032 in polar form. Okay, this is the magnitude, this is the phase. 31.62 is the magnitude, 0.322 is the phase angle. So this is how I initialize this complex in polar form. When I print in rectangular form, I see this is equal to almost 30 plus 10i. Okay, and similarly I have another complex polar number in here. So these are what I have before, and when I add this first second complex number to the first complex number, after this addition, my complex number is updated to this value. Okay, 50 plus 30i. So let me do one thing, let me print B as well. Okay. So let me write down a few A before addition, B so let me print B. What am I doing? Here is going to be A after addition. Alright, so this is these are what I have. Now let me go ahead and print. So this is A before addition, both in rectangular form and polar form. This is B, and when I add B to A, this is A after doing the addition. Alright, so this is what I have, complex number in polar form. Now let us carry on the experimentation. Let us do one thing. Instead of complex polar, I can write complex rectangular, and I have complex rectangular in here. Okay, so let me write 10 plus 20i. Okay, so this is complex rectangular. Now I am going to add a complex polar to a complex rectangular. So this is A before addition, this is the A in rectangular format, this is A in polar format, this is B. I created B in polar format, polar representation. Then I added A and B, and this is the sum, this is A after the addition. Alright, now another interesting thing is that I can use complex base pointer to point to both complex rectangular and complex polar. Okay, so let me go ahead and compile, and I am not going to see any change in output. Okay, so output is going to stay the same, just the pointer that points to this object. So whether it's a complex rectangular object or a complex polar object, here I have created these two objects on the heap. So whatever be the object that is created, I am using a complex base pointer to point to that object. And since all these methods are available in complex base itself, I can use that to access the objects methods. Right? These are virtual functions. So when I call using this complex base pointer, when I call these methods, the method that are there in my objects class is going to be called. Okay, because of runtime polymorphism. How does this happen behind the scene? This takes place using this vptr vtable that we discussed in previous classes. Alright, so this is what I have. Okay, let me go ahead and finish up the implementation. I have two more things that I need to do. One is I need a something to do subtraction, let me call it minus, and I need something to do multiplication. Alright, so this is add in complex rectangular. Let me copy it, paste it. Complex minus is going to be just I subtract b from a. Okay, so this is just from the plus, I am changing the plus to minus. Okay, this is very simple. Okay, now let me go ahead and implement the times. This is a bit complicated. This is not complicated, just a bit longer. Time. So real is equal to something. Okay, real is going to be equal to real into pointer real. I will write the imaginary later. Plus imaginary into pointer get imaginary. Okay, this is the new value of real, and imaginary is equal to imaginary real into pointer imaginary plus imaginary into pointer real. Alright, so this is multiplication in rectangular format. Alright, I hope I did not make any mistake. I don't think I made any mistake. Okay. Alright. Multiplication in polar coordinate, polar is straightforward. Okay. So first then we have to do in polar, we have to do the subtraction. Like addition, the subtraction is going to be done in the same way. Just this is subtraction in polar. Okay, I am going to have this real part, I am going to convert it into real part. Then instead of adding this two number, I am going to subtract this two number, and then I am going to convert it back into polar. Okay, so this is subtraction. Alright, nothing new here. Just instead of in addition I had plus, in subtraction I have minus. Okay, then times time multiplication, and I am going to take complex base, some pointer that is going to be passed, and then here is what I am going to do. I am going to update magnitude is going to be equal to magnitude into pointer's magnitude. Okay, and phase is going to be equal to phase into pointer's phase. And this is multiplication in polar form. Okay, so now I have done lots of things. Let me not print things in polar format. Okay, all these complex number, whether I create in polar or rectangular, I can print them in polar and rectangular both. So let me just print in polar, print in rectangular, because that is more intuitive for me. Okay, so a after addition is this. Then let me create another complex number. C is equal to 5, 10. Okay, so I have A, I have B, then I print A after addition. Now let me print A after multiplication. So I am going to multiply C to A. Alright, and then I am going to subtract B after this multiplication. From A. Okay, so this is what I have. Of course, all of this, instead of complex rectangular, complex polar, I can have anything. Okay, all of them are anyway going to be pointed by this complex base. Okay, instead of complex base, I can write complex rectangular in here, complex polar. In line number 116, I could have written complex rectangular pointer pointing to complex rectangular object. In line number 117, I could have had a complex polar pointer pointing to complex polar object, and similarly in line number 18 I could 118 I could have had a complex rectangular pointer. Alright, so but I am using complex base pointer because a parent, complex base is the parent class of complex rectangular and complex polar. So a parent class pointer can point to a child class object, and that is the reason. So I can change my complex number from one format to another format very easily without any problem. So this ABC are going to stay the same. The left hand side of this equal operator, assignment operator, is going to stay the same. Just if I want to change the representation from complex rectangular to complex polar, I just need to change this one line. Okay. So this is what I have. Sorry about the interruption. And I can go ahead and print this. Let's compile and print this. Hold on. So yeah, this is what I have. This is A before addition, this is B. I add A and B, and so this is what I have. And then I multiply A with C, this is what I get. Then I subtract from this, I subtract B. How did I end up with this? Okay, I should subtract, not time. Okay, so it is going to be minus this is A, this is B, this is A plus B, then this is A into C. I did not print C explicitly, but C is 5 plus 10i. Then I have this, I subtract from this A into C, okay, I subtract B, and so I end up with this. Okay, so this is what I have. This I can keep on doing this for all different combination. I can add two polar complex number over, subtract, multiply. I can mix them up. Why can I mix them up? Because all this add, minus and time, these three methods, they do not take parameter of the same type, right? They take parameter using parent class pointer. So I can send complex rectangular, complex polar, either of them. Okay, so had the parameter been complex rectangular, then I could not have been able to send complex polar object. But because the parameter is complex base, the parent of both complex polar and complex rectangular, for that reason I can send any of this. Alright. So this is what I have. Okay, so this is the complex number ADT. What is why is this an ADT? Because here I have this abstraction, right? I do not need to worry about whether what is the type of representation. Okay, whatever be the representation, I know this thing. I know this function are going to be available for me. These are the methods that I am interested in. These are the methods that are going to be available for me. Okay. And I can call this method to do my work with complex number. Whatever application that I have, my application is going to need complex number, and I can go ahead and work with complex number, right? I need not worry about how this abstract data type, how this data type works behind the scene. Okay, what is the data structure? What are the variables that I have? My variables are either, if I have real and imaginary, if I have a rectangular representation, I am going to have two double of type real and imaginary. If I have a polar representation, I am going to have two doubles of type magnitude and phase, two variables of name, magnitude and phase. Okay, so what are the variables behind the scene? I did not worry about that. Okay, I just need to worry about this. A few methods are given to me. Okay, these are the few methods that are made publicly available to me. These are the interfaces with which I can interact with this object, right, with this ADT, and I am going to use this interfaces to interact with this ADT. And by interacting, using these interfaces, by interacting with this ADT, the application logic that I have to carry out, the thing that I need to do, I am going to do that. Okay, how these things are represented, how this minus, how this addition take place, how this multiplication take place. Okay, those are things that I need not worry about. In my application, I simply call this a arrow time, and this is going to do the multiplication. I need not bother about how this multiplication happens behind the scene. If I have a polar representation, it is going to happen in a different way. If I have a rectangular representation, the way multiplication happens is going to drastically differ. Okay, but what is happening behind the scene, that is something I need not be bothered about. Those are abstracted away from me. Okay, so I use a new data type, this complex number. There is no data type that allows me to handle complex number. There are data types that allow me to handle single precision floating point, float. There is one that allows me to handle double precision floating point. What is it? Double. Then I have things to handle integer, long integer, Then I have data type to handle boolean values. Alright, I have lots of different data types in C++, but I do not have data type to handle complex number. So this is the data type that I have created. Okay, and then this is the abstract data type, because I am shown just a few interfaces with which I use this data type, I interact with this data type. All these things that is happening behind the scene is something that in my application I need not be bothered with. My application is the main function, right? My main function is my entire application. So in my main function, I need not be bothered with what is happening behind the scene. I simply use this data type to carry out my work. Alright. So this is what I have. This is my first ADT that I have seen, the complex number ADT. Alright. In the next video, I am going to do one thing. All of these are in one single file, right? So this is a bit chaotic in the sense there is lots of code and everything is so cluttered. So in the next video, I'm going to organize these 3 different classes into different files, and I'm going to have one driver file where I'm going to write this main function. Alright, and we will see how this is going to change, how compilation process is going to change a little bit if I organize my files into different all these classes into different files. So all those things we are going to look at in the next video. Right, I hope you understood everything in this video. We just implemented things that we talked about, discussed in greater details in the last class. Alright, nothing too complicated I hope in today's class. Even if you have any doubt, even then, first make sure that you have seen the last video. Okay, but if you still have any doubt, then feel free to contact me on WhatsApp, through mail, or by writing your doubts in the comment section below. So that is all for this video. See you in the next video.